Hi there, it's Kate. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm planning to do just what I've been reading in the last couple weeks and also a quick life update because it the things that have been happening in my life have been definitely affecting and will continue to affect how and what I'm reading. So it's been a couple weeks since I recorded. My family was hit with another round of preschool sickness, preschool cold. You can probably still hear it in my voice. I was down for the count last weekend. And then the other thing that happened was that big decision that I've been alluding to for the last couple months. My husband was offered a new position at a new company, and he's accepted. So we are very, very soon going to move from the greater Seattle area in the United States to the greater Atlanta area in the United States, which is way, way far apart. Sorry, my kids are out there awake with their dad, so it might be kind of loud. Sorry if you can hear that. So yeah, we are getting ready to move, which has taken up a lot of brain power, a lot of time. I haven't been reading a lot, and I'm everything is getting packed up and we're not going to have access to our things. So my reading is going to change dramatically. I think I'm going to be mostly reading on Kindle for a while. I don't know. We'll see. So anyways, what did I read this week or 2 weeks? Let's talk about that. If you have any moving with small children tips, send them my way. This will be our our third move since we've had kids. But this is also the biggest, and we're going to be driving there, so it's going to be interesting. We're going to give it a try. Anyways, I finished 3 books in the last 2 weeks, which in the middle of everything else seems like an accomplishment. When I was sick last weekend, I basically inhaled Becoming by Michelle Obama, which it seems like everyone else has already read it too. So this is Michelle Obama's memoir of her whole life up until this point. And like everyone else, I adored it. It was amazing. I will say that I particularly adored the early sections that it was it was divided up into 3 different sections. And I really, really enjoyed the first 2 sections where she talked about her childhood and then meeting Barack and before the presidential nomination. I think that was how it, somewhere, I don't remember exactly when the demarcation was, but the first 2 chapters were great. The third, not chapters, sections. The third section was their time in the White House and then a little bit after. And I felt that, to me, that felt more rushed. It felt more just like a laundry list of accomplishments. There was less reflection. And that seems completely normal to me. It was very recent that it happened. There's been a lot of political backlash, I would say, against, I understand that she felt the need to justify her actions and her accomplishments. So it all makes sense. I don't know that she should have written it another way, but definitely read this book for the first 2 sections, and I can see myself rereading the first 2 sections of this book, particularly at different points in my life. I think that there's a lot of kind of nuggets of wisdom that would come across differently. I definitely picked up on a lot of the things that she said about the way that her mother parented her and the way that she parented her children at this point, whereas I think if I'd read it when I was younger, I would have probably gotten a lot more out of her recounting of her dating life. I was really impressed by the way she really owned up to a lot of mistakes that she made and didn't try to sugarcoat. She didn't try to make herself into a perfect person. She included a lot of things that she didn't have to that really just made her seem more real. Like she talked about when she left for college and how she treated her boyfriend at the time and how she probably wouldn't have done that. She wouldn't advocate doing it that way again. I really enjoyed it. So I, like everyone else who has read it, I think I highly recommend Becoming by Michelle Obama. I think I'm actually doing this in the opposite order that I read them, so oh well, doesn't matter. But I also read A Place Called Winter by Patrick Gale, and this is a book about a man who is an orphaned as a child, gets married to a woman and has a daughter, and then kind of puts all of that in jeopardy. He's relatively well off, he has good standing in the society, and he puts all that in jeopardy for a relationship. And I believe that's kind of the way they put it on the back flap. I don't want to explain too much more than that because of spoilers, but he ends up in Canada, homesteading basically in Canada and farming. And the thing, and it's told in flashbacks. The book starts out with him at basically an asylum and a mental institution, and he's then kind of tells his story. The thing that I really liked about this book, other than kind of descriptions of like the plot and what happened and farming and how alien farming was to him as someone who had been well off in British society, was that this explored a man coming to grips with his own sexuality in a way that I don't think I've ever read from a male perspective before. I think we read about women coming into being as sexual beings. I think that's more of a normal thing to read. I think we tend to read about men being sexual, and it's a normal thing, and they like sex, they have sex, whether it's with men or women, it doesn't matter. Sex is kind of a given for men in a lot of the books that I've read, and this definitely didn't take that for granted, and it really explored how our main character, Harry, came into his own and became a sexual being without sex being all of his life and all consuming, if that makes sense. So I actually really enjoyed that perspective. And then I also enjoyed the talk about farming and the differences between the two lives that he lived, and the examinations of some really, really interesting characters in this book. Another one of the characters was, is it going to say in the back? It's been a couple weeks since I read it. A woman, basically a transgender. No, not basically. They call it two souls. So Native American, Native Canadian, First Nations person. I'm sorry, my brain is still a little bit sick, so it's going to take me a minute to get the words right. So a First Nations, I think that's the Canadian term, person who's two souls. So man and woman, who is considered as a spiritual leader in their community back home, but obviously not in the white society. And so Harry bonds with Ursula in this institution, and so we get a little bit from both of them, and it was just really, really fascinating. So I also definitely recommend this book if any of that sounds interesting to you. And then finally, this is getting long. Sorry about that. Finally, the last book that I finished was The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey. And I really love this one too. I read some really good books in the last few weeks. So this is also another very popular one, but it's basically about a childless couple in Alaska, an older couple. They build a snowman one night, and then all of a sudden there's this girl, kind of, the snowman is gone and there's a girl that's lurking around, and how this girl comes into their lives, and kind of how that happens. It's based on a Russian folk tale, and it was just really good. It was really, you could really feel the emotions that the main characters were feeling. And I don't know if you could just hear my eldest has the tambourine out, so hopefully that's not too loud. So this was really really great. And I guess this is the third novel that I've read this year that's taken place in Alaska, and I really am digging the Alaska books. So if you have any recommendations for other books, I also read The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna and then Alaskan Holiday by Debbie Maycomer. So if you have any recommendations for other Alaska books, I would love to read it because they are just so cozy. Because even like this book, I wouldn't say that content matter was always cozy, but I kind of like the idea of reading about being cooped up all winter long. I don't know, maybe that's weird. The other thing that's cool about this book is reading the blurb on the back, not the blurb, the author bio. The author, Ewan Ivey, went to university in my hometown, at the same university where I have a master's degree from, so that was super exciting. It's not a big university, so that's why it was really, really exciting to read, and I'm looking forward to reading more of her work for that reason. Super quickly, the two books that I'm reading right now, Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb, and let's see if I can get this, it doesn't have a dust jacket on, A Full Life by Jimmy Carter. I did some graduate work on Jimmy Carter, or the Carter administration, not Jimmy Carter himself, but the Carter administration, and we're also moving back to Georgia, so this seemed like a good time to pick up this book. I'm about halfway through. It's good. It's a memoir, just him looking back over his 90 some odd years alive. It's a little unfair because I read it right after the Michelle Obama memoir. It's not that good, but it is very interesting. And then I just wanted to pick up some fantasy and kind of escape from the world that I'm living in. So Robin Hobb, Ship of Magic, I just started it. This is how far I am, not very far. And I need to finish this before we leave because it is way too big to pack in a car. So wish me luck that I can finish this in the next 6 days. Anyways, that is it for what I'm reading this week. This video is so super long. I'm sorry. If you have read any of these books, or if you have any Alaska novel recommendations, let me know down below, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much. Bye.